Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Anton, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. What are we doing today? Well, it seems like we have a variety patch coming up soon, in a couple of days, I believe. Um, this is going alongside with the shift in ranked ladder to Eternal format, so uh lots of big shakeups to the game, really, for competitive players or just people who like to play ranked in general. But yeah, I believe we have 11, I believe, is the amount of cards that have been shown off today. One for each region. Two, I believe, for Ionia, in fact. I believe it's two for Ionia. I might be wrong on that. I think it might actually... I don't know. I'm just going off what I remember. But yeah, well, lots of new cards today. Couple of them are really, really good, too, and I'm kind of questioning why they were created with how good they are and for what archetypes they're good for. But yeah, so probably not gonna be talking too much. Not gonna be too long of a video because again, nothing really novel with these cards. It just seems to be like what Riot likes to do with these kind of smaller variety card releases. They're just trying to shore up some archetypes and add some support to archetypes that already exist instead of creating brand new archetypes. So let's go and look at all of the cards. Okay, what do we got first? We have Blowback, a PNZ card. What does Blowback do? 4 mana, fast speed spell. I like that it's fast speed already. Like, immediately, when you show the speed fast, I'm already interested. Deal 1 to an enemy and the enemy nexus. Discard up to 2 cards to increase the damage by 1 for each card discarded. So, this is awkward, in my opinion. So, if you don't discard anything at all, this card is terrible. You spend 4 mana for a ping, basically, that also hits face. Which kind of sucks. Let's assume, like, you always discard 2 cards. So, it's a 4 mana, deal 3 to something, and deal 3 to face. That's kind of solid. But what deck wants this? That's the first thing. Like, I feel like a deck that wants this wants to have discard fodder. Okay. It's not hard to do. You know, randomly created cards from things like Seraphine. Just created cards in general like Draven Axes. Fleeting cards like Victor's Hexcore upgrade, etc., etc. What deck wants this, though? Burn decks? I feel like burn decks would still rather just play Get Excited because Get Excited is 3 mana. I don't know, maybe you could use it theoretically to discard even faster with Jinx piles, like maybe a Jinx Echo deck. I also feel like if you're playing this, you have to care about the face damage. Some people I've seen are like, oh yeah, like discard control. I'm like, first off, what discard control? What would discard control even look like? Second off, like, Control doesn't really care too much about face damage. Yeah, PNZ does a little bit because, you know, they have even Control PNZ has a surprisingly high amount of burn thanks to things like Mystic Shot. But yeah, I don't know. I think the card is just solid. Like, it's probably playable, but I'm not sure. Like, 4 mana, it's quite a bit of mana. But I think it's fine. Purely because of fast speed. If this weren't fast speed, I think it would be bad. But it hits like a nice, weirdish middle ground between things like Shock Blast, the 6 mana J spell, and I'd say Get Excited, where it's like it's a little more expensive than Get Excited, but it theoretically hits 2 things, kind of like Shock Blast, but it's also fast. But then there's the downside of having a discard, which hopefully you can turn into an upside by discarding something like a Flame Chompers or something else. So what's the next card, though? Captain Indari. What is Captain Indari? She is a 6 mana 5/5 and a weapon master. When I'm summoned, I improvise. Plunder, forge other allies. I've seen a lot of people say this is basically 6 mana Cythria. I disagree a lot. Just because they're both 6 mana cards that buff your boards theoretically, I don't agree. Cythria... Well, yes, Cythria has to attack to get the buff off, And Captain Indari doesn't, but Captain Indari also has the Plunder. Cytherea also gives a keyword. She gives Fearsome, which is pretty solid. So, I don't know. I think the comparison is fair, but I do think it's a little... not much of a reach, but I think there are enough differences between the two. It's not that fair to compare them. Plus, in all honesty, the 6-mana Cytherea is not really playable anymore. But yeah, like, here's the other problem I feel. Let's say you don't Plunder. Captain Indari sucks. If you don't Plunder, she's just 6-mana 5/5 that improvises. So I guess you get an equipment, which is whatever. I do like this for Jax support. I do think this is solid Jax support, like a nice help to Jax top end and finishing the game out. Jax has always kind of struggled with that. Maybe like a Jax Samira deck. I do feel like having to Plunder might be a challenge for some Jax decks. So pair with Samira, you get Samira's ping. Maybe you even play in Stylish Shot too for a little extra slowish burn. So yeah, I think the card's fine. I think it does, in other words, it helps an archetype that's kind of weak right now, and that is Jax Weapon Masters, and perhaps even makes Jax Samira a real deck. Next up, first card actually of a lot of tribal cards, I guess I'll call them. A bird card. I believe there are 3 tribals that have been shown off today. 3 new ones: bird, cat, and dog. I believe a lot of people are thinking these are hints towards things like Nico, Nidalee, Rengar, etc., etc. No card in the game at the moment has any of those tags. There are no birds, cats, or dogs. Yes, there are cards that are like, without a doubt, cats, like Fallen Feline, and birds and so on. But they just don't have the tag. I'm assuming like a lot of people are assuming that they're just gonna go through before the this patch, or when this patch goes live, they're just gonna add, you know, cat, dog, bird to a bunch of cards that would theoretically or just flavorfully have the tag. For example, bird, valor, fleet feather, stuff like that. But what's this card do? 5 mana 5/4, quick attack, Ionia card. Other bird allies have +1/+0 and quick attack. It's hard to evaluate this card in all honesty because of we don't know exactly what birds are. I mean, okay, that sounds stupid when I say it, but we don't know what cards in the game are going to get the bird tag. Like, will Valor be a bird? Will, I don't know, Fleet Feather be a bird? Etc., etc. A lot of those birds in Demacia are actually challengers, and by now everyone should know how good Challenger is with quick attack. So, you know, what is that? Demacia plus Ionia, Shen, maybe Shen J4, a Shen Fiora. Seems kind of nice. So yeah, I like this card, but I really feel like this card comes down to just what is a bird in the game. Next up, oh, we also have another tag, Reptile. I didn't know this was another tag, so we have 4 new tribals. Beguiling Cobra. 7 mana 4/7. Each round, the first time you summon another follower, summon an exact copy of it. If your board is full, grant its stats and keywords to me instead. I like this card, but I'm having a hard time evaluating if it's good or if it's a meme. I like the effect, it seems fun, but I just don't think it's gonna be doing too much. It feels like if you're ever far behind, this card sucks, and if you're able to have this card stick and then play another unit, you are already in a good spot anyway. With that said, though, I do think maybe like Trundle set. You play like Cobra, and then you use your cheap-ish protection spells to try and protect it. Syncopations, Twin Discipline, Nopify, etc., to try and protect the Cobra. And then on turn 8, you play Ice Pillar, and then you play Old Timer and try and like bounce their board back to their hand, and then you get a lot of damage there. Is it good enough? Plus, you can play coins. because, you know, Ionia. Is that good enough? I don't know. It feels like it needs a lot going for it and lots of moving parts, and it's not that, I don't know, not that, how to describe it? Consistent, if that makes sense. But I like it. I like that idea. I'm going to try that idea, but I don't think this card's going to be competitive, but it seems like it'll be a fun meme card. Next up, Perfidious Promoter. 4 mana 4/4. When you refill mana, create a fleeting random follower in hand you can exactly afford. At first, when I first saw this guy, I was like, cool, he's coin support, and coin support that's in Bilgewater, so more specifically, Jack support. But does Jack want this card? I don't know, like, you might say like, well, yeah, you're gonna get a unit. Yeah, random unit, which is already like, if you've played some of the cards like, I don't know, like Timelines or something, you know just how bad or how good a random unit can be. You still have to play it, so since it's a unit you can exactly afford, you're gonna use all your mana. Except for spell mana, I guess. So yeah, and the guy is not even that good stat-wise. Like, 4 mana 4/4 is not terrible stats, but I kind of just wish he was a 4 or 5. So yeah, I don't know. And he's also in the 4-drop slot, and I'd rather just be playing Jack on 4. So I don't know, like, what deck wants this guy? Like, some kind of Jack set? Maybe Jack Trundle? Like, you can play... You have this guy on the field, you play Trundle's Ice Pillar, it refills your mana by 8, and you get a 8-drop alongside the Ice Pillar. That's kind of cute. But yeah, I don't know. I think this guy's just... I think the randomness is a little too much to keep him from being competitive, but he's fun, I guess. Next few cards. This card's interesting. Innovative Blacksmith. It's a weapon master. 3 mana 2/2. When I'm summoned, I improvise. You know, same thing all the other weapon masters do. Each round, the first time you forge or equip an ally, heal your Nexus by 1. So only once a turn, but you know, even 1 point of health a turn does add up. And you might be like, well, she's a 3 mana 2/2. You're not wrong, but again, she'll improvise, so she's going to probably have at least 3 health on average, or the equivalent, like 2 health in tough, thanks to the pan. And sometimes even 4 health, because of the Pot of Pain, I believe is the card's name. But yeah, I think the card is pretty solid. It only really goes into like one archetype, though, the Equipment archetype in Freljord, so Jaxorn, pretty much. Does Jaxorn want this card, though? I'm not sure. I guess you could also play it in, like, Jax decks that are not Ornn-based, because she is a weapon master. So it does give, like, non-Jaxorn decks. It basically lets Jax play healing outside of Freljord. Just in case their second region doesn't have healing, you know, like Noxus. So, you know, Jax, Samira. So yeah, because of that, I like what this card is bringing to the table. Outside of any kind of Jax or even Ornn decks, I think this card is kind of trash. Freljord pretty much already has enough healing as is and doesn't really need more healing. They have other problems besides lack of healing. So yeah, I do think it's a good card, though. Very solid card. Maybe something with Ornn's Forge too can be done with this. Next up, Grave Companion. Dog. So that's another one of the new tribes. 4 mana 1/5 Shadow Isles card. Each round, the first time another ally dies, draw 1. So basically Shadow Isles' version of Inferna. No keyword, unlike Inferna, who has elusive. Is this card better than Inferna? No. I don't think this card is going to have to get nerfed like Inferno. First off, no elusive, so even if you do buff it with like a Burblefish, sorry, not Burblefish, with Shelly, doesn't matter that much. That was one of the strengths of Inferno. That and the fact that she, you know, had 5 health, so she just sat on the back line giving you cards. I will say this, though, it does have some upside compared to Inferno. It is much easier for your things to die. Just blocking in combat. The card that's being drawn isn't fleeting, so that's nice. It has other downsides too, though. For example, it can only be activated once a turn. I don't know. I feel like this card would have to draw 2 cards for me to be happy with it. Because here's the thing, in even the 4 mana slot, there's another card, Spirit Leech. Spirit Leech, the 4 mana 4/1 that when you summon it, kills something to draw 2 cards. I, most of the time, would rather just play Spirit Leech over this. Like, what deck wants this over Spirit Leech? Maybe something with, like, Ephemerals, maybe, like, a Viego deck. I don't know. I don't think you would play this and Spirit Leech. That seems like a little too much card draw. I do think maybe if Shadow Isles aggro existed, this would be good, like, pseudo top end for Shadow Isles aggro. Too bad Shadow Isles aggro is kind of a joke nowadays, but, you know, maybe they'll release some more cards or buff some of Shadow Isles aggro's cards. But yeah, first off, artwork as well is very cute, but I think the card's solid. I think cards that draw are always at least decent and have potential. Next up, okay. This card, I think, is actually the strongest of all of these cards. Condense. 2 mana burst spell. Pick a follower. Create a 1-cost copy of it in hand and set its stats to 1/1. So, yes, the stats are going to be terrible, but you're playing this not because the card you're copying, you don't care about the stats. You care about, like, play abilities, summon abilities, effects, whatever. You know, something like, say, I don't know, Bandle Gunners for just a 1/1 with Impact 3. Since you have to play the card, you get the play ability. So, Conchologist, you play Conchologist, you hit Condense, and then you condense your Conchologist to replay another Conchologist. The card that's being condensed, the condensed copy, doesn't have fleeting or ephemeral or anything, so it's going to stay around, so solid chump blocker. Also, I saw a lot of people miss this. It just says pick a follower. Doesn't say allied follower, so you can choose your enemy units too. You're like, oh, I like that card you just played. I'm going to take it. I like its ability. I'll have one too. A card that's very similar is like Iterative Improvement. Iterative Improvement is basically just 2 mana, pick a follower, add a copy to your hand. I don't know if I would say this is better than Iterative Improvement, but I kind of honestly think it is better than Iterative Improvement. Yes, it takes a little more skill, I guess, to play it, because you can't just choose whatever, but I don't know. I think it's good. I think this is very powerful. You have a lot of options. Since you can choose your stuff or your opponent's stuff. If you're playing Condensed, your deck probably doesn't care. A lot of your units probably don't care too much about their stats and care more about their play and summon effects. You know, things like, I mean, Bandle has a lot of this stuff, right? Like I mentioned, Conchologist, Aloof Travelers, etc., etc. Otterpuss even is not terrible. So yeah, I like the card. Very, very powerful card in my opinion. Kind of surprised it's not even 3 mana. I guess it is technically 3 mana because you do have to cast the spell, or the unit, because it is 1 mana. But yeah, pretty good. Fairly aggressively costed, powerful ability, burst speed so your opponent can't interrupt it. Unlike, say, I think it's Splinter Soul, which is slow speed. Next card, though. I believe, in my opinion, this is actually the second strongest card. After the Bandle card, I already forgot the name, after Condense. Sacrificial Scholar. 2 mana 1/2 faded. Last breath, create in hand copies of the first 3 spells you played on me. My first problem with this card, though, is it's a Pantheon card. I hate it. I hate that it's a Pantheon card, but I'm not gonna lie. In some weird, mad world, I can see myself trying to throw this in a control deck and playing things like Pale Cascade and Guiding Touch, and maybe even Star Shaping on this to try and get a lot of value. But in all honesty, I feel like this is just a Pantheon card. You're just going to play, like, I don't know, maybe Pantheon Samira, Pantheon Varus. You can copy, or you can get more Pales, more Guiding Touches, the Equipment Strike spell, the 4 mana card, I can't remember the name of it. So yeah, I think this card is pretty solid. Even if you only get one, in my opinion, if you only get 1 card from this guy, I think that's good. As long as you get 1 card, you're happy, especially if it's a good card like Pale Cascade. Because think about it. Pantheon and Fate has been around for a while. We all know how strong of a keyword it is. Saga Seeker, the 1 mana, it's a 1/1 now, but it was a 1/2. It had to get nerfed. It's pretty good. Your opponent would play Saga Seeker, and then they play like Chain Vest or whatever to protect it and give it Faded, and you just wasted removal, and now it's still there growing. I think a similar thing is going to happen with Scholar here. Yes, I think it's going to be a little slower than Saga Seeker because it is 2 mana, but, you know, you play Scholar, your opponent tries to Mystic Shot, and then you play Pale Cascade. You get the card, you get the Faded buff, and now when this guy dies, you get the Pale Cascade back. And on top of that, you have this guy on the board too, just being really annoying. So yeah, big fan of this guy. Not a fan of Pantheon myself in general, like just the deck. But I think I feel like the Pantheon players probably love this guy and are looking at this guy and thinking this guy is really, really strong, because he is really strong. Next up, an interesting card, I'll say. Probably, in all honesty, bad. But Alter to Unity. When I'm summoned, draw a unit. Okay, 4 mana landmark that at least does something right away when it's played, which is, I mean, it's slow. When you summon an ally, grow its stats to equal its cost. I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea how to use this card. I've thought of a few cards that like this, like there's Mihira, the 5 mana 1/1 that I believe it's if it's empowered to 5, it has lifesteal as well. Playing like Alter to Unity into Mihira will make her a 5/5, and elusive with lifesteal, which is pretty cute. I don't know how this would work with Revna. I have no idea if like Revna will be a 6/6 with this card, but I don't know if Revna will give your deck +2/+2 or +6/+6. I feel like it would probably be +6/+6, but I'm not sure. Might also just be +2/+2. In all honesty, I would have to test it, but I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what deck wants this. Like, I feel like I've heard some people say like Evelyn. Like, what Evelyn Demacia deck? Lucian Evelyn? I don't think they want this card. This is really, really slow. Like Galio? No? Like, formidable decks don't care about attack. So yeah, I don't know what deck wants this card. Maybe if there were like just more like expensive life stealers with low stats, I could see it, but I just can't see. I can't think of anything that wants this. And again, the biggest problem is it's a 4 mana, doesn't really affect the board, and then you draw a card, which is like kind of bad for most Demacia decks. And our last card, Pack Attack. I'm gonna be honest with you, we can't evaluate this card. Pack Attack is a 6 mana slow spell. Start a free attack with an exact ephemeral copy of each cat ally. It's also in Shurima. So this is probably hinting at like Nidalee or Rengar. The problem is we don't exactly know what cards in the game right now are going to be labeled as cats. We can make educated guesses. Things like, I don't know, Fallen Feline, Submersible, etc., are probably going to be. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like we just need to see more cards for this. Like, yeah, starting a free attack with a bunch of Submersibles is kind of cute, but 6 mana is a lot of mana. Maybe some kind of like in the future with Rengar or Nidalee, some kind of like PNZ Shurima deck with like Echo, and you can use Chrono Breaks and Pack Attacks and get a lot of attacks going, and use Rite of Negation as like protection or something. I don't know. But yeah, I'm curious as to what they're gonna do with the cat tribal, because this is a very powerful card. This card's either extremely broken or very unplayable depending on just what cats are in the game. Anyway, though, that is it for today's cards. I don't know if we're going to be getting any more cards between now and when the set comes out. We will get a patch, though, of course. I'll go over that as well when it comes out. But for now, that will be it for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. Some of these cards seem pretty good. Like, I'm very scared of Condense and Sacrificial Scholar. I think Condense is the strongest. Sacrificial Scholar is the second strongest. Pack Attack's very dependent on just what comes into the game. No idea what to do with Alter. I'd love to hear your opinion on what to do with that. Shimmerwing's similar to Pack. Depends on just what birds are in the game. Cobra seems cool. Grave Companion seems just like more draw for Shadow Wilds, who doesn't really need more draw. But yeah, I'd love to hear your opinion on these cards, what you think about them, like ideas of how to build decks with these cards. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I would love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below. It always helps me and always helps out the channel. And if you guys want to keep up with Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you guys want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch, over at twitch.tv/Zenington, where I stream pretty much every single day. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video, and until I see you guys in the next one, bye!